Stephanie Milky, and we're diving into your divine fingerprint. But before we dive into this, I want to make sure you understand what we're doing. Maybe you're brand new to the page. I would love for you to post new in the comments so I can get to know you. And every morning, sometime in the morning or mid-morning, depending on what my morning looks like, I like to hop on here and give you something to think about, something to talk about on your mindset, maybe remind you to have an attitude of gratitude just to help you on your day, to help you through your day. So I love to talk through books because I truly believe that there's two really key factors if you want to have success in life, if you want to reach goals, if you want to figure out your divine fingerprint, if you want to figure out your 1% factor, if you want to achieve anything in life. And there's two super important things that you need to pay attention to. Number one, it's the people that you're hanging around with. It's your environment, and just in general, who are you allowing to speak into your life? And number two, the books that you're reading. And so we started this Keto Mom page, this Keto Mom community almost 8 years ago. It'll be 8 years in June. And it wasn't intended on to help you with your mindset. This was just simply a page and a group just to help you with recipes. We were diving into our health journey. We wanted to help people think of simple family recipes that would help them on their journey to fat loss. That's what was on our mind. And then a couple of years into it, as people started asking questions, as the page, podcast, Instagram, wherever you're tuning in from, started growing, the questions started coming, and it was really listening to people cycle through their goals, same goals every single year. It was like, hey, I lost the weight, I gained the weight. I tried this, it worked, and then I let emotions take over, or my environment changed, or I fell into old habits. And I realized that most people haven't read a book since high school or college. Most people weren't working on their self-development. They weren't even realizing the power of their environments, the people around them, that they weren't reading, they weren't pursuing better, they were just letting life happen. And so we started reading books together in the morning, working on mindset, just giving you some understanding of there's more than just recipes that will help you with fat loss. So you can always go to ketomomsecrets.com. Click on recipes, click on how to get started, click on book club, click on trials. There's a product that I love that I've been drinking almost 8 years, just like we've been talking about recipes the same time, that have truly helped me, my family, my husband, our 4 daughters on this journey. Now in the mornings, we're going through a book. In the afternoons or at any point in time, you can scroll through Keto Mom Secrets on Instagram, Keto Mom on Facebook. We've got a group for our customers where we have a podcast called Keto Mom Secrets. There's no shortage of places to find things. We're on YouTube, and I don't even know where else. But you can go and scroll through. There's recipes and keto tips and tricks. I, in general, as long as my day permits, I'm a homeschool mom. And we work from home, and we've got a business from home, and I'm a wife, and I do all of the things like you do. I keep up with our home and dishes and groceries. And then in the cracks of my day and our day, we share recipes, and I like to hop on in the afternoons and give you some tips and tricks and ideas. But I'll tell you, it is so important to pay attention to your surroundings, your environment, the people that are speaking into you, and the books that you're reading. So if you're brand new, post new below. Today we're going to talk about, well, what did I title this? How
to win in life.
How to win in life. And as always, my amazing husband is on the other side of the screen.
Yes, he's amazing.
He's amazing. All right, so I would love for you to press the share button. Sharing is caring. You can always go to ketomomsecrets.com. And actually, I do have a question for you. I want to know this, and I really want a serious answer. If you set goals for this year, or whatever you call them, resolutions, you had intentions, like everybody uses their own verbiage, how are they going? We're halfway through January. So if you're watching live, halfway through January, if somehow you're listening to this later on down the road, we're halfway through the month where people should be like, I'm doing great. I'm going to the gym. I'm being mindful. This is live. It's a Monday. So I hope that this weekend sometime you prepped your meals. I hope that you packed your lunch for work today. I hope that you're pursuing your goals. I want to know. Do you give it a good thumbs up? Like, are you doing well? Do you feel good? Are you going after those goals and dreams, your vision board? Or Have you decided like, oh shoot, it's halfway through the month already of the new year and it's not going really how I planned? And either way, I would love to either encourage you and go, awesome job, keep going, or give you some insight to get you back on track. All right, so here's what we're diving into. This is chapter 9. We're almost done with this book. And you can always go back and watch the recordings from prior. But how to win in life. I don't read all the stories to you. I give you the highlights. I have some questions for you to listen to. And then ask yourself and just think about as you go throughout your day. So Pastor Keith Craft is the author of this book. And he says this, disciplined practice. So he gives a ton of examples of practicing and we'll talk about that, like your goals, because I really want to know. That's why I asked you, like, are you pursuing your goals, your New Year's resolutions, or do we need to restart? All right. Disciplined practice is deliberately and diligently practicing to produce consistency in your performance. Those things that you consistently sow create the opportunity for continual harvest. The purpose of practice is to become excellent. And he's going to talk about practicing the goals and the habits that you ultimately want to be able to do without thinking about it. So you going after these goals for this year, it might be fat loss, it might be financial goals, it might be spiritual, it might be relational. You've got to practice these habits of getting up, going to the gym, packing your lunch, sitting down and communicating with your spouse, like the intentional things that you need to do. Take practice until they become a habit to where you don't have to really think about it. They naturally happen. So he goes, winning at life requires deliberate practice with excellence that is intentional and focused. And so I'm only going to go through, we'll keep going. The fact is that when you practice anything long and hard enough, you create an instinctive ability that becomes part of your 1% better. So he says how to win in life. And he's got 4 different keys. He's like, I'm going to give you 4 things to think about how you win in life. Today, we're only going to go over one of them because there's a lot to the first one. So how to win in life. Winning at life involves discovering, developing, and deploying your 1% factor. This entire book, just so you know, if you haven't watched the other ones, is all about you. Your gifts, your talents, your 1% factor, your divine fingerprint, whatever makes up you. If there's things that you had dreamed about years ago and now you've like written it off, I'm too old, it's too late, it's too hard, it's too uncomfortable, whatever that looks like, this is about going, hey, what are you not doing that you should be doing? What are the gifts and talents that you're not using? Like the world needs you, people need you. What are you not utilizing that these gifts and talents are staying stagnant and hidden inside of you? And how to win in life. He just gives you so many different practical steps. And just the thought of going, am I actually living my life to the best of my ability? Am I actually using my gifts, my talents? Am I adding to the world? Am I adding value to the world? Am I doing something that just sets my heart on fire to actually live out my purpose? That's the point of this book. And so here's what he says. Key number 1, and that's all we're going to talk about in this one, is he says, practice, practice, practice. He goes, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. He goes, practicing is a crucial component of the developing and the discovering and the developing process to elevate your greatness. So he goes, here's a couple questions to think about. Am I willing to practice what I want to win until it becomes intentional? Like, are you willing to work on things even though it's hard and even though it's uncomfortable, like my husband? So we're going to be traveling here in a little bit. We're going to be going down to Florida. And when we're there, we're going to be going to a different CrossFit gym. And this CrossFit gym that we're going to be trying has athletes that are competing in is it called the Waterpalooza? What's it called?
Yeah, they just finished it.
They have a crazy CrossFit work competition. Anyways, I say all of that because these people practice something over and over again to be able to compete at this high level, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's hard, even if it's taxing, because they've got these goals to compete in this competition, and we get to go try out their gym. And my husband's like, are you like, you're a CrossFit mom. If you follow our stories, we go to CrossFit. My husband and I go with our daughters, partially to support them and to get some functional fitness in. I say I'm a CrossFitter, but I mean, am I willing to practice and do the work like these CrossFit athletes do down in Florida? My husband said, "Are you going to do it?" And I was like, I don't know if my level of commitment and if I would be willing to practice and work that hard like they do. I am actually not like, yes, I'm excited to go, but would I be willing to do the work and practice that these athletes have done to go to that competition? We've been watching the competition this weekend, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's incredible. And yet I don't know if that's my gifting, but we have 4 daughters that would love, that watch it and go, we said, that's awesome. I do have 4 dogs, by the way. Lots of force. But in general, our girls watch that and we're like, if you want to achieve something like that someday, you've got to practice. You've got to practice and practice and practice, even when it's hard and uncomfortable and not convenient to get to the places that you want to go. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So he says this, what am I willing to practice? No, am I willing to practice what I want to win at until it becomes instinctive or instinctive? He used that word. Am I willing to do what it takes to achieve sustained excellence? So, what am I practicing? How are you practicing? And why are you practicing? Why do you want to achieve the goals that you maybe wrote down earlier this year? Why do you want what you want? And here's what he said. He goes, I'm going to give you 5 different things to think about as you're practicing. So within this one skill out of 4 that he says he wants to give you, there's 5 different things. And we're going to go through them quickly. Hold tight. Number 1, he goes, I think it's super important as you decide to practice things in your life. He says these are a must, these 5 things. And in different capacities and in different, everybody's got different skills. Nope, that's not what I want to use. Everybody has different. Some of you are doing really great in some of these areas and some of you are not. So some of you need to give more attention to some of these areas. And some of you, you're like, I'm dominating that area. I'll give more attention to a different one. This will make sense because I'll read it like this. He goes, I've got 5 different areas I want you to practice. And number 1, I want you to practice your spirituality. Yeah.
Why are you
spiritually? Because it looks funny. The word looks funny to me. All right. So he goes, what are you doing? If you followed us a while ago, we did a book called Kazone. And so I think oftentimes people dive in, they're like, I want fat loss. I want to lose some weight. I don't feel good about myself. That's usually why people come here. And then if you really dive into people's stories and you really dive into somebody's life, you have to figure out why you're overweight. Like, why are you eating out of emotions? Why do you feel the way that you feel? Why do you not want to go to the gym? Why have you made the excuses? Because usually it's tied to a different spoke in your life. He's basically going to go over the spokes in your life that we did the book called Kazone did. He goes, your life is made up of different spokes. Think of your life as like a tire. So you've got your spiritual spoke, your relational spoke, that could be friends or family, your work spoke, your physical spoke, and your financial spoke. And if one of those is broken, it's affecting the rest of your life. So right now, you might go, spiritually, I'm great. Like, I read my Bible. I have great friends. Like, whatever that looks like to you, he goes, I want you to understand, where are you at spiritually? And if that needs to have practice, what does that look like? And so I'm not going to read all the stories to you, but he goes, different things like, do you attend a church? Do you read your Bible? Do you practice that spiritually? Do you have great people that are around you uplifting you? So that's one of the spokes that he says is you need to practice. You need to practice at it. Some of you, not so much. But he's basically going to go, I want you to go through these things and have an awareness of where you're at, because these things, when practiced, become instinctive, but also affect all the areas of your life. So number 2 is practicing emotions. You guys, we've talked about this on this page a lot. If you've been here before, you've heard me talk about EQ. I love that he said this. What I mean by this is I need you to learn to rule your emotions. One of the best ways to practice emotionally is to practice forgiveness. And he talks about controlling your emotions. Oftentimes, I'll ask somebody, why are you eating all day? What has caused you to get to where you're at today? And a lot of it has to do with their emotions of sadness or anger or bitterness or unforgiveness, which is causing the weight gain, which is causing them not to be able to even lose it because they've got unforgiveness. They're not controlling their emotions. They're not realizing that their EQ plays a huge part in their fat loss. Is this making sense? So he's giving you some things to practice. Number 1, or just have an awareness of where are you at spiritually. Number 2, where are you at emotionally and how can we control these? And I've talked about things like EQ and being able to respond versus react and collecting the facts and just not overreacting. And that takes practice. All right, number 3, I would say this: get the book because he gives you some tactical like stories and other things to go through.
What book is it?
Your Divine Fingerprint. My husband's great. All right, number 3, he talks about practice intellectually. And this is where I like to say it's important, obviously, to read and to learn. He goes, I believe that readers are leaders. JFK said that. He goes, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. Your ability to learn is one of life's greatest treasures because it will lead you to places you never thought you would go. Practice intellectually by reading books. That's what we're doing on the page. I already talked about the power of the people that you're around, and reading books elevates your mindset and helps you, first of all, believe in yourself, but also go after things you never thought you could because you have a higher level of self-development, self-awareness, living your life with excellence, realizing you've got greatness inside of you. All right, number 4 is practicing physically. He goes, you have one body to take care of. It's your temple. When you exercise, you are practicing physically for you to be the healthier you. So I would say that's self-explanatory in general, but something that you've got to practice is, you guys, practicing is just doing. It's the action of doing. It's going to the gym. It's stretching. I need to be better at that. It's even this as far as the food that you eat, right? Like practicing packing your lunch. It's intentionally doing the actions you know you need to do until it becomes a habit. I hope that you planned your meals for this week. Practicing getting up and getting your family out the door in peace. Practicing not skipping the gym, but going to the gym. So we've got your spiritual, your emotional, intellectual, physical, and one more. He goes, practice financially, practicing your finances. He goes, really paying attention to, and oftentimes this also leads to people not reaching their health goals or being overweight. You're stressed out because your finances are out of alignment. So therefore you eat. And so therefore you've got 2 things that are broken, your health and your finances. And how do we fix those? He's like, being aware, finding somebody that's financially set, learning, cutting up some of your cards. Ladies, not going to Target, not always go. There's just different things that you can do to be mindful, which when you're working on your finances and you find out, hey, this is something that was broken, and as I fix this, other things fall into place. So he goes, also, generosity is one of the ways that you can practice financially and prosper for the rest of your life, because he talks about being generous and giving and sowing seeds. So those things that he talked about, which we've talked about honestly in the last couple of books, of working on the other spokes in your life, which you might not realize affect your health, right? And so how to win in life is paying attention to those things. Taking action on different spokes in your life will ultimately result in fixing the other spokes in your life. If you've been so focused on your fat loss and so focused on the diet that you're doing, but you've never sat back and asked yourself, why am I eating? Why am I choosing this out of emotion? Oh, my emotions. Like, or maybe you're going, what is really frustrating me? Is it my relationships? Is it my finances? What actually needs to be fixed in order to fix my health and fitness? What actually needs to be fixed, or what needs to be addressed? What needs to be forgiven? What needs to be talked about? Because it's not just the fact of eating food that got you here today. It was something that you're not really paying attention to, that you didn't even realize affected, that you're eating out of emotion, you're eating out of sadness or anger or habit, or because you didn't plan, you did this, or because you didn't have any money, you ate that, or because you thought your finances, they weren't there, so you didn't have a gym membership. Like, what is it? Because when you look at that, or the 5 things that he talked about, that will ultimately help you fix some other challenges, which can turn into opportunities in your life to become the best version of you. All right, that was a lot. As I was reading through this chapter, I'm like, man, that is a lot. And that was only key number 1 out of 4 to win in your life. So you'll have to continue to tune in here. We will wrap this book up this week, and then we'll choose a different book for next month. I don't know what it is yet, but you can always tune in here. Thank you for tuning in. Your presence matters. I do love it when you comment below because I like to see what you have to say. If at any point in time there's anything that I've said where you're like, hey, this has really helped me, or if you ever have any insight or wisdom to give to other people, share in the comments. This isn't just about me. I would like it to be about you as well. And a lot of you have great wisdom and insight to give to others. So don't be afraid to comment below and give us that wisdom. So thank you for tuning in. As always, continue to tune in to the page for different things that you need, ketomomsecrets.com. You can send me a message and I will answer you. And for those of you who are doing the intermittent fasting group, this is week 2 of our intermittent fasting group. So we're in a private group coaching people. We've got accountability. That is the kit that a lot of you have gotten in the mail. If you want to know more about intermittent fasting, which is a conversation we've been having a lot here on the page, just post fasting in the comments and we can chat, which I truly believe is one of the things that's really helping people control the power of understanding that food doesn't have to control you. So that's like a little bit of the health part of it, but I'm excited to help. So thank you for tuning in.